Well, good evening, everyone. Meteorologist Michael Wilhite here with Southern Indiana weather. It is Friday evening, March 7th. It is about 7:15 p.m. here on Eastern Time. And daylight saving time starts this weekend, so before you head to bed, I should say, instead of before you watch TV, before you head to bed on Saturday night, make sure you set your clocks forward an hour. It's that time of the year where we lose our sleep. Got a nice weekend in store for you overall. We'll talk about that here in a second. A nice warm-up going on next week too. Yeah, a little bit of a mess to deal with on Wednesday. We'll get into that in just a second, and we'll talk about how much of a mess it could potentially be with. Tonight's video update sponsored by High Voltage Mobile DJ Service. You can contact Nathan at 630-9465 or visit him on the web at djhighvoltage.com. Check him out for all of your DJ needs, the mobile stage that they've got, and all kinds of other light shows and great things that they can do. Check them out. Also sponsored tonight by Metal Magic for paintless dent repair. If you need a traveling hail team to come out to you because of damage from the severe thunderstorm season that will be upcoming, whatever the case may be, give Chad a call here at 698-8555. They can also do some custom detailing and some other things. So give them a call. You can see the pictures on the screen at the great job that they do. All right. Here's a live loop of radar and temperatures. We're starting to fall. We made it up to pretty decent temperature today, all the way into the mid-50s really, and 57 officially here at the Huntingburg Airport, and that was a nice change for the day. A little bit warmer than we anticipated. I forecasted 54. I don't mind blowing it by 3 or 4 degrees if it's going to be warmer. That is sure a nice change compared to where we have been, I will say that. See a little bit of snow out to our west. That's not going to affect us. We are going to have a little bit of rain develop and push our way, as we'll take a look on future radar here in a moment. The big weather maker is still going to be out here in the ocean. If I put the satellite loop here from it on for you, and just give you an idea of what this big boy looks like, and we'll throw the lines over here so you can kind of see where we're at here with it. Basically what you've got is a huge low pressure out here over the Pacific Ocean. This is going to be moving onshore, and the energy, a piece of the energy, not the particular low itself, but you see this little bump in it right here. We call this a short wave. One of these little short waves from this is essentially going to one of these little guys is essentially going to move onshore here late tomorrow, and then as it does, that energy will move onshore. It'll eventually spawn a surface low that will sort of dive down and then up our way, and the models where it goes from there and how strong it takes that surface low really depends on what we end up getting with out of it. We'll talk about that here in just a second. First of all, let's take a look at the weekend. Future radar, and it's not very aggressive. We do have a little bit of rain in the forecast on Saturday, but here we are into the overnight hours tonight. Not much of anything around. You go throughout your day, here we are, even 1 in the afternoon, maybe an isolated shower at best popping up. You see the rain out to our west, and then you can see as you go through here, here's 10 o'clock at night, and then here we are by 1 on Sunday morning, and boom, you know, it's virtually gone from there. So I've only given, I think, a 30 or 40% chance of rain really on Saturday for this. I don't think all of us will see the rain. Do expect to see some scattered showers around, but certainly no problem with this. There is a isolated off-the-wall chance that the freezing line may go south of us just in time enough for some of this to mix in with a little bit of a few snowflakes, but I'm skeptical that's actually going to happen. I've not even mentioned it in the forecast. The models have been going back and forth, will it, will or not. I don't think it will, but I will mention it just off the wall in case it does. But, you know, the reality is it's going to be too warm. Nothing's going to stick, so nothing to worry about there. Now, the next main weather maker that we're going to have to keep our eye on is next week, and we'll show you what the different models say about that because they all vary on it. All right, so here we go. Here we're moving in time. Here we are by Tuesday, and Tuesday looks like a fairly nice day right now. Maybe some rain moving in on Tuesday night. Here's Wednesday, March the 12th at 2 a.m. You got some rain moving in. Here's the Euro model, and you see 1,000 millibar low just sort of out here over Missouri. Watch how rapidly this deepens. Still at 1,000 millibars by 8 when it moves to us, but we're down to 996 there. And then it continues on its rapid descent up to 988 by the time it gets out here. This is a very strong low. Now, we've also got some very strong high pressures up to our north that are keeping this focused right over our area. Now, because the low is tracking right along the Ohio River like that, that's going to mean rain for a lot of us. But once it gets past us and we're on the back side of this flow, Notice what happens right here, all right? Let me get it around here, move my mouse down. Remember, this first bright blue line here is a 540 line, the rain snow changeover line. Still precipitation over us, and so again the Euro takes us with the possibility of some light snow after this. If we just take a look at temperature profiles, what do temperatures do? Well, let's just back up here. Let's go to Wednesday at 2 a.m. We're still setting nearly 50 degrees area wide here, upper 40s, low 50s, and then by the time 8 a.m. comes, we're still in good shape. But by the time 2 p.m. comes, look how rapidly we're falling. We're already down to the 30s around much of the area, and then almost all of us go below freezing after that. So there will be some snow according to the Euro model that does accumulate with this. If I just take you into the snow map, here you are by 8 a.m. on Wednesday, we're all still fine. By 2 in the afternoon, you've got a little bit of snow up to our north, and then by 8 p.m. that night, the snow has already begun for us. By the time it looks all said and done, it's given us 1, 2, maybe 3 inches at most in the area with this. Not a big snowfall. Some of the other runs of the Euro model had hinted at this being a 6 to 9 inch snow. Doesn't look like that's going to be the case right now, but you know, the reality is this wave is still off of the Pacific Ocean, not on shore yet, so the models at this point don't have a good handle on it yet. The Euro by far has been the absolute most consistent with this, and it keeps it with that snow and with falling temperatures. But if I were to show you some of the other models, for example, if I just show you what the GFS model does for this, okay, here we are by here's the one. Here's what moves through Saturday. Let me advance it forward in time. Notice here it comes down. There's 1,004 millibar low. Remember, by this time it was already 1,000 millibars, and it was strengthening. It goes down to 998 and then 996 and all the way down to 988 eventually with the Euro model. It goes to 1,004, then 1,008 as it moves over us. In other words, the GFS has a weakening low rather than a strengthening low. Track is very similar to the same, but the low broadens out, and that's what you see whenever you see, well, if I can get it back here and stay here. Notice how the circles around the low here become broadened out instead of very tight like they are on the Euro model. That's because it's a weakening low, and a weakening low is going to be a warmer low than what the tighter low is. This deepening low, like the Euro has, is essentially able to create more wind, and so it's able to wrap around that cold on the back side of the low to produce that snow, whereas the GFS would basically look at this and say, snow? What snow? Maybe a little bit for northern Indiana. But as you advance it in time, by the time the 540 line goes over us, the precipitation's basically gone. So we might get some flurries, and that's about it with the GFS. Now, that's a far cry from 2 or 3 inches that we have with the Euro model. So even with the Euro model, it's not a big snow at this point like it was. So, and, you know, whenever I show you the warm-up that we're going to be expecting after this, even if we do get a decent-sized snowfall, it looks like it won't last for long. That's the good thing with this one. But it is the point that it is mid-March, and we're still dealing with old man winter. It just won't go away. A couple of other models here just to show you. Here's the Canadian model. The Canadian model has really taken this thing to the north of us, as you can see. It has it as a rapidly deepening low as well. This solution makes a little more sense to me than what the Euros does. Exception, the reason why it's so far north here in the Canadian is because the high pressure up here in Canada is much weaker according to the Canadian model. It's very much stronger in the Euro model, which would suppress this low right down over our area. But you see with the Canadian model, you may have some flurries on the back side of the system, but nothing really much to accumulate there. Now, let me say this. Here's the problem with this. Well, what do we believe? People ask me this all the time. What's more accurate, the Canadian or the European or the good old American GFS? Well, the truth of the matter is the European has a better track record than the rest, but all of them have their strength, all of them have their weaknesses, and it really depends on the storm system. I can tell you this much. The GFS has been flip-flopping back and forth. It'll say this particular thing one time and do something totally opposite the next run. And the GFS is run 4 times a day, where the Canadian and Euro are run twice a day. You could have 4 completely different solutions with the GFS in one day. So I have zero faith whatsoever in the GFS's understanding of this. The Canadian model has also gone back and forth. Right now it's got it taken up to our north with a pretty decent sized low. But yesterday it would have looked at you and said, storm? What storm? It didn't even have a low pressure. It just basically had a broad, long wave over us that brought us a few sprinkles, and that was it. And now it's latched on to the idea of a pretty decent-sized low pressure, but takes it to the north. The Canadian does not have a good handle on this one. The GFS does not have a good handle on this one. If it had a good handle on it, it would stick with an idea and run with it, but they're going back and forth, which indicates to us they have no clue what they're doing. European model, on the other hand, for the past 3 days has been consistent with an idea of rain going to snow, and almost the exact same track for the low for the past 3 days, which even though I don't like the idea of snow, that impresses me, the fact that it's latching onto something and holding its own. That's the Euro style. Now, is it necessarily the right solution? Maybe, maybe not. Time will tell. The storm is still offshore, so as it comes on shore the next couple of days, by Sunday probably we'll start to have a better idea potentially of what we could be dealing with, and certainly by Monday and Tuesday. But as this storm moves on shore, again, we'll get a better idea with it. I will say this, the Euro I'm impressed with right now. The simple fact that it is latching on to it and holding on to this idea of what it's showing, which is again, this idea that a deepening low pressure forms and tracks right along the Ohio River through Kentucky there, and then deepens rapidly and then ends up with some snow on the backside of the system. The only difference in between the Euro really has been the fact that sometimes it goes from heavy accumulation of snowfalls to minor accumulation of snowfalls, and that's an issue of timing as far as how fast it pushes us through. So that can be worked out, but the idea that it's keeping that track consistently the same or very near to each other, it's not flopping back and forth 400 and 500 miles like the GFS and the Canadian are, that impresses me, and that's enough to make me say, ooh, watch out. So I will say this, when I made my forecast, I leaned heavily on the Euro because of this. The only reason, again, it's not because I necessarily want the snow or that I'm wishing for it, because I'm not. But it's the only one that's staying consistent out of this, and so I'm leaning heavier on it until we get a better understanding when this moves on shore. Hopefully, again, in the next couple of days, we'll be able to get that understanding. All right. Now, after this system, there is one more storm that we want to watch, but not for snow. Let me go back to the GFS here and then just advance this forward in time. And what I'll do, and this is way forward in the future, so that, this is a lot of rain that you're seeing here. This is really next week is the only snow chance I see for a good long while at all on the GFS's outlook at all, actually. But watch this rapidly strengthening low here as well as it moves up. All right. And there it is right here. And notice a very strong cold front. You've got the 540 line on the back of it, so you've got very cold weather here. You've got very warm weather surging ahead, a very strong cold front, a very tight field, which would be strengthening for wind gradients. Let me switch over and show you the temperatures and see all of Indiana pushes to near 70. Yeah, you get the picture of probably what I'm talking about with a chance of severe weather for this. Now, is that a guarantee for severe weather? Absolutely not, but here we're looking at Saturday, March 22nd at 8 a.m. So Saturday, March 22nd, right around that time frame, we're going to take a look and see what this storm system does. Just keep that in your memory bank that we could be looking at the potential of some severe weather a little bit later on down the road, and we will see how it goes from there. And that's about all we can say from that. All right, temperature-wise over the next couple of weeks, let's talk about that real quick before we finish here. Here's what the GFS ensembles say, and other than the idea, remember on March the 12th, the GFS has absolutely zero clue about it, so this particular time frame in here is probably bogus material at this point. But the rest of it, I want you to just notice on out. Normal high is 56 this time of the year, and it's taking us a little bit below normal still, but a return towards normal. That's certainly a lot better than what we have been, so we'll see if this trend continues. I like this trend, that's certainly a lot better. Right now, what I can say is I don't see highs in the 30s very much at all to speak of outside of maybe this next little system. Then we start to warm up a little bit more normal. Probably stay below normal. The Climate Prediction Center does have us below normal for the rest of the month, really, but even if it's only a few degrees below normal, that wouldn't be too bad compared to where we've been. All right, let's take a look at your 7-day outlook. And real quick before I do that, first I'll point out on southernindianaweather.com, your website, if you click on the blog and forecast discussions here, I've put a blog out here tonight, and this will give you some little bit of what I went through tonight. But for those of you that don't always are not able to always watch the videos, I'm starting to blog a little bit more now, so keep that in mind and go check that out. And maybe you'll be able to get some of those if you're not able to watch the videos. Click on 7-day forecast, and we'll look at it. Sponsored by Ubelor and Sons. Again, a little bit of rain possible later in the day tomorrow. Not a very aggressive high, but 55, 50 on Sunday, mostly sunny, 61, and then 65 on Tuesday. There you go on Wednesday with that potential winter storm, and it looks like an advisory level snow at this point. Some accumulation possible. Again, I've leaned heavier on the euro. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully in a couple of days we'll see it just be rain, but I won't hold my breath at this point. But even if it does stick, we're going to 40 and then 53 after that. So a little bit of more of a moderation. All right. That's it for tonight's video. I'll see you next time, folks.